المتبعين، وهذا بحد ذاته إنجاز يعكس المسؤولية ويعكس التحدي. ربما هناك الكثير من التحديات التي نتشارك فيها جميعا كشباب في مختلف مناطقنا وفي مختلف بلادنا، لكن يبقى الأهم هو أن نقطع الفجوة. الأمر ليس بالعدد، ليس بعدد المقاعد النسائية داخل البرلمان، لكن بالأبواب التي تغلق أو تفتح. الرهان الحقيقي هو أن يكون وجود الشباب والنساء فاعل داخل البرلمانات، ألا يجدوا ما يعيقهم داخل هذه البرلمانات، أن نتحول من الحديث عن العدد إلى الحديث عن القيمة المضافة، عن الحديث عن عدم وجود حواجز، عن الحديث عن عدم وجود صورة نمطية اتجاه هذه الأعمال واختلاف الجنس. شكرا لكم جميعا.
Thank you so much for your participation, and thank you for the insight that you gave us. Next, we have Ecuador.
Muchas gracias, Presidenta. Bien, más allá de lo que puede escribirse en una ley, yo creo que pasa muchísimo por la voluntad política, porque conversábamos con algunos compañeros parlamentarios de otros países y pueden tener política de cuotas, pero en verdad, a pesar de estas políticas de cuotas, ¿se le está dando acaso los lugares, digamos, principales equitativamente a los hombres y las mujeres? En mi país pasaba antes que tenían una política de cuotas, pero a las mujeres y a los jóvenes les daban los últimos puestos. Entonces, más allá de eso, creo que es la voluntad política, como les decía. Hoy por hoy tenemos el Congreso más joven y más femenino de la historia, y fue porque el presidente actual, Daniel Noboa, confió muchísimo en la juventud. Y saliendo un poco del enfoque de género y hablando un poco de la perspectiva de mi región, de mi país sobre todo, creo que hay mucha apatía o resistencia de los jóvenes de participar en política, y es porque muchas veces sienten que la política no va acorde a los desafíos actuales. Muchas veces los jóvenes dicen, si somos informales en ciertos aspectos, somos informales, lo importante es que las ideas se debatan, que las propuestas vayan adelante. Entonces, creo que nosotros como jóvenes legisladores tenemos un desafío inmenso, que también es hacer una política disruptiva, una política que también sea atractiva a esas nuevas generaciones, en la forma de comunicar y en la forma de actuar, para que cada vez tengamos más jóvenes vinculados, tanto hombres como mujeres. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much for the participation, and also mentioning one really crucial thing is obviously, of course, politics and how it's affecting and shaping our political lives every day. Next, we have Dominican Republic. You have the floor.
Muchísimas gracias, Presidenta. Bueno, es un honor para mí en el día de hoy estar aquí como miembro de la Comisión de Juventud de la Cámara de Diputados de la República Dominicana y referirme a un tema muy importante. La República Dominicana se ha caracterizado como una de las economías más dinámicas de América Latina. En las últimas décadas, nuestro crecimiento sostenido y la estabilidad económica nos ha permitido alcanzar un índice de desarrollo humano alto, ocupando la posición número 82 de 2022 y ser reconocido por el Banco Mundial como un país de ingreso medio con un Producto Interno Bruto per cápita de más de $25.000. Sin embargo, estos avances no deben ocultar los desafíos de nuestra democracia. Uno de los más importantes es la participación política de las mujeres y de los jóvenes. Y voy a referirme en este aspecto a la brecha de género en la política y especialmente de las mujeres jóvenes. Los jóvenes se afilian en los partidos políticos de la República Dominicana en un 31%, según un estudio que nosotros tenemos. Sin embargo, solo 9,2% logra postularse a candidaturas. En el caso de las dominicanas jóvenes, se muestra mayor el nivel, de militancia partidaria que va de un 33.9% en las mujeres a un 28.6% en los hombres, así como apoyando a las campañas, es decir, nuestras mujeres están afiliadas a los partidos políticos, además están apoyando a otras mujeres. Sin embargo, nuestras dominicanas son las que menos asimilan posturas de roles de liderazgo. Esto refleja que pese al compromiso persisten barreras estructurales, estereotipos de género y una cultura política aún marcada en el machismo. Como Estado, destacamos lo que es la Ley 33-18, que establece por lo menos un 10% de los jóvenes puedan aspirar a cargos electivos. Voy a hacer una acotación importante. En la República Dominicana somos 190 diputados, de los cuales 17 congresistas somos jóvenes, entre los 26 años y los 35 años de edad, para un 8,9%. Y de ellos, 9 somos mujeres jóvenes, lo que representa apenas un 4,7% de los 190 diputados. Estos datos, aunque son alentadores, evidencian que aún más queda un camino largo de nosotros, los líderes parlamentarios, en alcanzar una equidad y que nuestros jóvenes puedan ocupar posiciones de liderazgo. Nuestra juventud, y en especial nuestras mujeres jóvenes, tienen la capacidad, la legitimidad para ser agentes de transformación. Más de un 80% de la población dominicana reconoce que tanto hombres como mujeres poseen la misma igualdad de capacidad para liderar posiciones de poder. Pero necesitamos transformar esa percepción a acciones concretas que garanticen condiciones dignas, cerrar brechas de género y clase social y crear espacios de debate inclusivos, como lo establecía nuestro compañero de Ecuador, donde se vayan los debates un poco más de las redes sociales, ya que nuestros jóvenes solo están debatiendo en las redes sociales. El reto es claro: derribar las barreras que impiden la plena participación de nuestras mujeres jóvenes a participar en las elecciones y a participar, por supuesto, de la vida política, asumiendo posiciones de liderazgo. Solo así construiremos una democracia más justa, inclusiva y sostenible. Gracias.
Thank you, Dominican Republic. This was really insightful. I think the statistic that you shared regarding that women are participating in political roles, but for some reason they're not being put in chair positions is definitely something that needs to be more looked into. And also regarding social media, that politics and young people engage with politics on social media, but rarely more in bodies that are actually political and potentially parliamentarian. We need to change this and we need to address it. So thank you for pointing out this. Next we have Ireland.
The issue pertaining to gender gap politics comes down to a simple thing of the political environment. And the political environment globally, not just in Ireland, here, has become quite divided. It's right to the left, to the centre. And that is being broken down, I suppose, if we look at the speaking with the public social media in particular, and in artificial intelligence and AI. And if we look at social media, for example, there seems to be, and there is, I should say, the prevalence of hate incitement to violence. And language that is used online, if you met somebody in the street, it's very unlikely for you to being shot. It's going to that line. And I do think that political environment online, hostility, is a detractor from women and from diverse communities, people with disabilities, and indeed young people. And may I say as well, a lot of men from entering politics, and it needs to be tackled. Ireland is obviously a member of the European Union, the EU AI Act and other regulations have been in place. The one thing that Europeans are usually criticised for is over-regulation. But when it comes to social media and particular hatred and incitement to violence, it needs to be tackled. I don't think we're doing enough from the European perspective and the national perspective as well. And that leads in as well to artificial intelligence. Only earlier on today, we have a presidential election next month, and I saw a deepfake of the presidential candidate saying his image being used and his speech being used as well. It's extremely, extremely dangerous. And this is something that not only will turn people away from politics, but will turn people away from ever entering politics in the first place. To add to that as well, just in terms of the social media element, but also the family-friendly, or the lack of family-friendliness in parliaments. And in Ireland, we tend to sit late on a Tuesday and Wednesday. So we try and cram 5 days into 3, so parliamentarians can return constituencies around the country on Fridays. But what that has meant is that it's really long sittings. It is not beneficial at all to women. It's extremely difficult for young mothers and indeed young fathers to even see their children and to arrange childcare, etc. And I do think we need to maybe come up, and the idea might be helpful here, in trying to find a standardised version that we can suggest for our own parliaments that will work and look at best practice. I know Kira, who's with me, with all the reform committee, that's our parliamentary reform committee, and something that we should be looking at. What I would say, just to wrap up, is the political environment is what is attracting not just women, but in particular women from entering politics. And I do think that is creating an increase in gender gap in politics, because there has been so many advances in terms of introducing women more involved in politics. But I do think that main detractor is one of the main obstacles to overcoming that last hurdle to really achieve gender parity in politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Ireland. I couldn't agree more. I think we have a lot of common points when it comes to this. I'm really thankful for social media and the free speech and whatever you mentioned previously regarding the deepfakes, because this is something that is really concerning when young people are considering to enter politics and they see a tremendous amount of hate speech, deepfakes, and aggression on the internet being done to people that are already in politics, public figures. It can affect their decision to enter this type of arena, because other than the bodies that we now have, which is our parliaments, which are our political arena, we have digital arena also, which is deepening not just the diversity between different sides in politics, but also it's this last hurdle that you mentioned. We started doing good things when it comes to gender gap, and maybe this is reversing the wheels back. Because it's not, there is no legislation, enough legislation for these issues, and we really need to tackle that in the future. Thank you so much. And next we have Vietnam.
Delegation, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to be representing the Vietnam delegation to talk about this topic. And I have to say, this is really emerging topic, and I'm going to get straight to your 3 questions about the gap between male and female politicians. But within they often meet some barriers like cultural norms, gender stereotypes, and lack of support of limit women access to political positions. As you know, politicians, especially women, they face dehumanization through AI, social media, and many of
population, and female politicians are more affected by gender discrimination, online attacks and criticism of their appearance and personal lives. Social expectation and lack of support make it harder for women to maintain power and influence. In Vietnam, the government has implemented several measures to protect politicians and citizens from dehumanization and abuse on social media. The cybersecurity law, which is in 2018, requires online platforms to remove harmful and false information and strengthen content control on social media. And public awareness campaigns about fake news have also been launched to educate to the public. Vietnam has required platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and many platforms to cooperate in addressing violations, while also implementing initiatives to promote gender equality and protect women in policing. Additionally, regulation of personal data and data protection have been established to safeguard the rights of citizens and politicians. However, there are still many challenges in fully addressing this issue, and today I'm here to come with several solutions. Firstly, we need to strengthen legal protections against misinformation and online abuse. Secondly, improving media literacy to help people critically assess information and valid online dignity is really important. And we need to encourage collective action from governments, media, and society to create a respectful online environment. And it's really important to implement special measures to protect women in politics from online attacks and develop tools or social media platforms to prevent harassment and promote safe discourse. Last but not least, political leaders must lead by example, advocating for respect, dignity, and public life. And I believe that this, if we can combine legal, educational, and technological efforts, we make sure the political integrity and promote a healthy political environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vietnam. This was wonderful. You gave us really concrete ideas on what can be done further and what we can do respectively in our own countries to address these issues that are affecting us all. Next, we have Norway.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for raising this issue as well. This is maybe not solutions, but more of an example that illustrates the importance of the topic that the Second Delegation has raised. And we have had elections in Norway just this week, and they, in the newspapers now, they're discussing the election as the first influencer election in Norwegian history, which means that the tradition we've had of a very common discourse or a public debate has kind of altered. And in this election we saw that there were maybe like two different realities. One that was in the traditional newspapers with the older generation, and then one on social media, which didn't really transfer to traditional media at all, but really influenced how the younger generation were talking about the election. And I think, well, this is not the gender, this is the age gap, but it also really plays into the issue of the gender issue as well, because what we do see on the social media debates is that there's not the code of ethics or not the guidelines that we were used to controlling the debate or putting ground lines for the debate, but now more extremist views and also more extreme discourse is being allowed and also influencing the younger generation especially. But there is also, you know, when talking about social media, you know, it's not only young people that it's on there, but there's older generation as well that maybe don't have also the same kind of digital literacy, that also are more susceptible to misinformation. So as I said, this is not an example or it's not a solution or anything, it's more of an example, and I think the Norwegian election now can be a good case study also to see how discourse is changing and how we should worry about what are being allowed to be said and viewed and everything. So again, I thank you for raising this question. I think there's a lot, and I would be really appreciated to hear if other people have tackled this issue of how to create a more common debate again and a more common discourse.
Thank you so much for your participation and for the insights from Norway regarding this issue. I really hope that at the end of this discussion we'll have more tools on how to combat this further. Now, next we have Namibia.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Otilia, and like my colleagues here, I'm equally honored to represent my country at this very important gathering. On Namibia, on gender gap in politics, I want to stress that Namibia has made a stride in addressing gender sameness in the political establishment, but more still need to be done. It's commendable that we now have a female president who is one of only two on the African continent. However, while that has happened, we have witnessed a drawing of the representation of women in parliament since the 2024 National Assembly election, with only 38% of women now represented in the National Assembly and a mere 14% in the National Council. This is a decline from the 7th Parliament, where women enjoyed a 50% representation in the National Assembly. We do, however, have an existential crisis in the National Council because it appears that women confront a challenge in the first past the post system upon which the National Council is originally elected from. There is therefore a need to address gender sameness through legislation and not mere political posturing in order to ensure that women are equally represented in all spheres of government. And this is a conversation that we must advance brutally. I thank you.
Thank you for your participation. I have to announce now, because of the time to list is closed, we will now proceed with Rhonda. Yes, Rhonda, please, you have the floor.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you the experience of us, how we are dealing with artificial intelligence and the risk of gender-based violence and online harassment. Rwanda, the government has established a national artificial intelligence policy which serves as a roadmap to enable Rwanda to harness the benefits of artificial intelligence and mitigate its risk, especially the risk of online harassment and gender-based violence using the artificial intelligence such as the deepfakes that we have been talking. This policy also seeks to address gender digital divide, which may limit their women's ability to participate fully towards building an equitable and knowledgeable society. So our policy addresses those challenges and those gaps that are new due to the technology. The current protection that we have the law on prevention and punishment of cybercrimes, the law of 2018, but it will be updated given that the new policy on artificial intelligence is available. Another benefit that I can tell you that we are getting from the AI policy is that women will be empowered through various opportunities, through digital and mobile technology that will provide women with access to this ecosystem of innovators and designers and developers to be able to access technology and take benefits while being protected by the existing laws. To conclude, my country, Rwanda, is set to become a hub for AI research in Africa. In this regard, as I have mentioned, highlighted a strong and made a strong AI ecosystem, including the establishment of Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and with the strong political will of protection and empowering of women, we are very confident that our gender policies will go hand in hand with this new AI policy to ensure a comprehensive protection of women in all spheres of life, not only in the participation of the political life, but also in protection against cyberbullying or cyber harassment using AI.
Thank you, Rhonda. This was really encouraging to hear that you already have some legislation in place regarding the AI and the digital arena when it comes to interaction in general, but specifically with politics. Next, we have Paraguay. You have the floor.
Bueno, muy buenas tardes, Presidenta, y a todos los miembros que representan un poco a su país, a todos los parlamentarios. Muy agradecido con Perú y toda la organización que realmente nos atendió de una manera increíble. Quiero realmente agradecer al parlamentario Wilson por la invitación también y a todos los que organizaron este evento. Bueno, mi nombre es Pedro Gómez, soy abogado, tengo 28 años actualmente, soy diputado nacional, fui electo de los 26 años en listas desbloqueadas y en voto popular. Somos un país que está en el corazón de América del Sur, una nación que luego de una guerra devastadora, donde 3 países se habían unido, salió adelante. Y digo esto con mucho respeto para recordar que fueron las mujeres que sacaron adelante a mi país. Se estima que murieron entre el 60 y el 70% de los habitantes, y en cifra de hombres prácticamente en un 90%. Por eso en algún momento el Papa Francisco las había recordado a la mujer paraguaya como la mujer más gloriosa de América. La equidad de género es algo pendiente. En mi país sigue siendo una situación muy difícil, pues sobre todo también para las mujeres acceder a cargos públicos. Hoy, en un dato no menor, las que más participan en elecciones actualmente en mi país son mujeres, teniendo una participación del 52% frente a un 48% de los hombres. Entonces nos damos cuenta de que algo estamos haciendo mal. Participan mucho, pero no acceden a los cargos públicos. Ahora bien, como muchos otros parlamentarios mencionan, existe una brecha enorme no solamente en lo político, sino también en los distintos desafíos, tanto laborales, deportivos y hasta otras cuestiones que existen siendo pendientes con las mujeres en todo el mundo. Hoy también nos convoca el desafío de que existan más autoridades jóvenes en todo el mundo. Nos convoca ese desafío que para mí es muy transversal a todas las demás cuestiones. Creo que como jóvenes, y particularmente lo digo con mucha propiedad, muchas veces nos subestiman por tener una cierta edad. Y yo creo que la edad solamente son números. Nunca nos pueden decir a qué podemos llegar por ser, a qué no podemos llegar por ser tan jóvenes, porque existe lo laboral, existe lo deportivo, como lo decía también hace rato, y existen un montón de otras cosas. Entonces hoy coincido con los colegas de que no solamente podemos hablar de cuoteos y de que los jóvenes y las mujeres tengan que integrar nada más, porque tampoco podemos decir que es la solución. En mi país existe una obligatoriedad de que el 20% de las mujeres integren la lista. Y no fue suficiente, no hubo un avance y tampoco hubo un cambio drástico en los porcentajes en distintos periodos legislativos. En el periodo pasado existía un 20% de mujeres parlamentarias y hoy con listas desbloqueadas abiertas existen entre un 22 y un 24% nada más. Entonces vemos que no es suficiente y que realmente debemos encontrar políticas públicas que sean efectivas no solamente en letras, como otros colegas manifestaban también. Por eso hoy les pido que hagamos un esfuerzo en conjunto, en acciones que realmente se trasladen en una efectividad que buscamos, para que realmente existan más jóvenes y más mujeres en política. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much for your participation, Margaret. Next, we have Iran, and that will be the last speaker. After that, we're concluding. Thank you.
در رابطه با هوش مصنوعی اخیراً در پارلمان ایران قانونی تصویب شد که چارچوب‌های حقوقی و قانونی مشخصی رو برای این موضوع نوظهور تصویب کرد و با این قانون اون خلأی که در رابطه با مسئله نوپدید هوش مصنوعی داشتیم رو تا حدی پوشش دادیم. اما این واقعیته که بالاخره هوش مصنوعی یک تجربه جدید برای جهان هستش و الان تقریبا همه کشورها در ابتدای یه سری تجربه هایی هستن که قبلا کسی رو تجربه نکرده. اما نگرانی من در رابطه با هوش مصنوعی یه ذره کلانتر از مسائل هستش که الان مطرح شد. اگرچه مسئله زنان هم جزو مسائل مهمی هستش که در اولویت همه کشورها باید باشه. اونم این که من فکر می‌کنم هوش مصنوعی احتمالاً بخش زیادی از نظم جهانی رو تغییر میده و شاید کارکردی رو که مثلا 80 سال قبل بمب اتم داشت و یک نظم جدیدی رو در دنیا ایجاد کرد، هوش مصنوعی میتونه چنین نقشی رو داشته باشه. 80 سال قبل وقتی که چند قدرت خاص تونستن با بمب اتم یک انحصار قدرتی رو برای خودشون ایجاد بکنن، مناسبات جدیدی، معادلات جدیدی در جهان ایجاد شد و من فکر می‌کنم اگر این انحصار تکنولوژی در اختیار چند کشور خاصی که الان پیشگام هستند در حوزه هوش مصنوعی باقی بمونه، این حتی خطرش از بمب اتم هم میتونه در بعضی از زمینه‌ها بیشتر باشه و این موضوعی هستش که به نظر من جا داره تمام سیاستمداران دنیا، پارلمان‌های دنیا، حتی اعضای این جمع که جوان‌تر هستن دور هم جمع شدن نسبت به اون فکر جدی بکنن، چون مسئله هوش مصنوعی من فکر می‌کنم فراتر از مسئله باشه که فقط بخواد در حوزه زنان اثرگذار باشه. متشکرم.
Thank you, Ran, for your participation. I agree it's much broader and still a gray zone that is territory that is not being examined, and we still need to learn a lot about it. So colleagues, for the end, thank you so much for your participation. I will just shortly conclude that we had a great dialogue. We heard some of the countries that already are tackling this issue, having legally legislation and policies in terms of usage of AI or digital arena, how it's affecting not just women, but youth and our political arenas in general. And I'm really looking forward to hear later on how you're going to take this, what you learned today from this discussion to your countries, and if there is going to be any progress when it comes to legislation or protection of women in your countries too, and of course protection of youth and men as well, considering that the digital arena is not choosing sides. For the end, I want to again say thank you to our hosts, thank you for your attention, and considering that we are in the subject of gender gap, I would just want to announce that Serbia will be a host of the next women parliamentarians next year in 2026. So please take that into consideration. We're expecting you in Serbia next year, and you will have all the necessary information promptly through our organizers in the IPU. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias, Ivana, parlamentaria de Serbia y también colega, miembro de Jóvenes Parlamentarios de la Unión Interparlamentaria. Estimados colegas, aquí concluye nuestra conferencia. Es mi deseo que lo hayan disfrutado. Les rogamos que permanezcan sentados. Volveremos en un momento para la sesión de presentación de informes. Gracias.